This murderer hunted his victims down like wild animals in his own twisted game. In 1973, a woman in Anchorage, Alaska was walking alone on the side of the road when a man driving by offered to give her a ride. The man's quiet and passive attitude made the woman trust him, and so she accepted the ride. But a short while into the ride, his attitude suddenly changed as he pulled out a pistol and placed it at her head, telling her not to try anything. Now scared for her life, the woman complied as he took her to an airport where he forced her to get into his own personal plane at gunpoint. They now flew far into the woods where he had made an airstrip along with a cabin. Once they landed, he led her into the cabin where he armed himself with a rifle and a knife. He then explained the rules of his twisted game, telling her that she had 5 minutes to run or hide deep in the woods before he would hunt her down. Eager to escape, the woman bolted into the woods, weaving between the trees before quickly becoming lost in the unfamiliar surroundings. She stopped for a second to look around when a knife suddenly flew into the tree next to her. Sorry for the wait. Robert Hansen, who set several hunting records in Alaska, was a veteran working as a baker. Dealing with schizophrenia and other mental disorders, he began kidnapping women and bringing them to his cabin. Using his military training, he would then hunt them down, making sure none of them escaped. Police began finding the bodies of his victims in the woods, some too old to even identify. Eventually, they suspected him as he was one of the best hunters in the area, and every victim was expertly tracked. Upon searching his house, they found an arsenal of weapons as well as a map marked with X's. Police searched all of the 17 marked spots on the map and found a body at each of them. Robert initially denied all the murders but eventually confessed, blaming the woman for his actions. Robert kidnapped at least 30 women but was only charged for the murder of 4 that were identified. He was sentenced to 461 years in prison.
Broskies, at this point, I'm literally begging you guys, do the research on the places you're about to buy as your house. It's 2015 in Pennsylvania, America, when a family has just bought a house and they decide to move into it. However, the family decide that they want to further insulate the house that they've just bought, and they decide to start ripping down the walls to add more insulation to the walls. That's when they found something truly terrifying. They found literal dead animals within the walls. Sorry, say what? Turns out that the previous owners from which this family just bought the house from practiced a Pennsylvania Dutch ritual where they believe that if you kept dead animals within your walls, you could be protected from spiritual demons and the sorts. Pretty freaking creepy if you ask me. Years later, the family complained that the smell of the dead animals had not gone yet. Okay, hear me out. Why are you still in the house? Why? Leave. Sell the house and go. Like, what? Okay.
Never say these 3 forbidden words or you'll end up like Britney and you won't believe what happened to her. This girl on the far right, his name is Britney, and she is the most popular girl in her high school in Dallas, Texas. She was only popular because she would do any dare someone asked her to do. But on a cold wintry night, this little boy named Johnny asked Britney to do the ultimate dare. It was to say Bloody Mary 3 times in front of a mirror. She was a little skeptical at first because of the rumors going around school of what was happening to people who did this dare.
Hey, this is what happens when you don't take no for an answer. A man named Charles went out with this woman, and she decided she did not like him. But Charles became obsessed with this woman. He ended up stalking her on social media and then eventually found her address. He started knocking on her door and yelling for her. When she came out, he asked why she didn't want to go out with him anymore. She told Charles he wasn't her type. Charles refused to believe this and asked to talk to her about what her ideal type was. She told Charles to come inside and pointed down the hall to show him what she looks for in a man. Charles walked into the room only to smell rotting flesh, and when he turned around, he saw the woman holding an axe. She swung at his head, and as Charles' head rolled away, she picked it up and kissed him. "Now you're my type," she said.
After saying these forbidden words, Britney disappeared out of nowhere, and all the police could find was a piece of her toe.
If you scare easily, I wouldn't watch till the end of this video. On the evening of June 23rd, 2012, a 16-year-old boy named Michael was reported missing after going for a late-night dive with some friends. Nearly an hour later, the Coast Guard was called to retrieve the boy, and at about 2 a.m., a diver was doing body recovery in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. After about 45 minutes of searching, the diver began to experience decompression sickness, so he began to ascend back up to the surface. As soon as he came back up, one of his crewmates yelled and said that their chief needed them back in 20 minutes, so they only had enough time for one last ascent. As the diver went deeper and deeper, he began feeling around for any signs of the missing boy, but unfortunately, he had zero luck. That is until he stumbled upon an old, rusted bicycle that appeared to be covered in blood. This was a good sign that the boy was near, so he began to reach his hands out feeling for the body when this happened.
hey, you need to start documenting everything now. A Korean woman was blinded in her right eye, and she started to save up to get a cornea transplant. When she finally did it, it was a success and she was released from the hospital right away. Weeks passed by and she did not go to work, she did not talk to her friends, and she would not pick up her calls from her parents. Her parents began to worry and went to the woman's house. They called the police to break down her door. The police found the woman in a pool of blood and she was sliced open. They also found all the mirrors in her house smashed. Eventually, the police found the woman's diary, and on the last page dated weeks ago, it said, "My right eye is staring at me," over and over again, filling up the page.
This woman killed over 600 men with makeup, and you won't believe how. Giulia Tofana lived during the 17th century in Italy when women didn't have a lot of power. She then developed her own poison called Aqua Tofana. It was colorless, tasteless, and could kill a man in only 4 drops and leave no trace after death. She sold it to women disguised as makeup so they could kill their abusive husbands and live out their lives as free women. This went on for decades until police realized that she was the most successful poisoner in the world. And then she was executed by guillotine.
Warning, this may cause you not to sleep tonight. A woman takes her medicine once a day. She told her daughter that the medicine was the only thing that made her feel better. But sometimes she feels weak even after taking her medicine, that she can't take her daughter to school. The father was heard saying once, "One more slip up and I'm calling my lawyer." One morning when it was time for the daughter to go to school, the daughter began to worry her mother was just lying there. The daughter decided the mother needed medicine and decided to help give it to her. Just like the daughter had seen her mother do 100 times before. Using a spoon and pushing a sharp object in her mother. The daughter said it was working because her mother began moving again really fast, drooling and then falling back asleep.
This is why you should always be careful what you wish for. So in 2013, a guy actually encountered a genie, and this genie gave him one wish and only one wish. This guy was named Richard, and he wished for his wife to be back with him. But what he didn't know is the genie brought back his wife with him, but she was actually still dead and a living zombie. Follow only if you can handle scary stories. If you can't, don't follow.